Hey everyone, and welcome to Ink Spotlights from Comix Wellspring. This is the series where we shine the spotlight on immensely talented creators who print with us. Today, we're joined by Javi Martinez to talk about some of his journey, a little bit of the books he's involved with, and so much more. Javi, thanks for joining us today on the Spotlights.
Thank you for inviting me, Brandon. Happy to be here.
I'm so hyped to have you on this. We actually work together very closely on a few projects, and that's like one of my favorite things. So, like, I don't know, it's always fun to bring an Apollo creator onto the show and display some of the work you've done with us, and then the immense work you've done outside of Apollo, which is astounding in general. So, tell us a little bit about your projects you have going on.
Yeah. Well, I am based out in New York City. I write, I draw, I color and letter all my own comics. I design my books as well on top of that. Alongside making comics, I also have a little podcast, Earth, Mind, and Matter, that I edit and co-host as well with a buddy of mine, Frankie. And at the moment, I actually have just signed up to co-edit another podcast, Heck Yeah Pod. So I've been co-editing that. And now I'm a co-host with Apollo City Comics as well. So doing a whole lot of podcasting, that's for sure.
Yeah. And like with the podcasting, I feel like you have a book to go almost with every podcast you end up doing right now too. Tell us about the books you've been involved with.
So I started off with Apollo City Comics with Cyber Sync. That was my first publication. From there, I was able to get my second publication through the set list with Nicholas and In Service Comics. And recently, I just printed out my first ever zine that I've been selling now that I call Triforce with a Z to avoid copyright. And I have that where it's just about 3 little stories that have been unpublished, but 2 of them should be published like within the next year or so. So, it's just a little sneak peek at what's coming from me. But those are all the sort of comic projects I'm working on, as well as starting a new project for Apollo City Comics that is in the early stages, hasn't been drawn just yet, but script's almost done, and yeah, working on that now.
Yeah, super hyped to be putting that out and working with you on that book as well. What got you to like start creating in general? I mean, and what got you to start podcasting with, alongside your comic book creation too? Because you're also a musician.
Yeah, I definitely don't play music a lot nowadays, to be perfectly honest, but because to sort of get into it, like, when I went to college to be a computer science major. I had no intention of like making comics or writing or any of that stuff. And it wasn't until my first semester in college that I decided to go to my first ever New York Comic Con. And at New York Comic Con, I wanted to get my Deadpool Volume 1 by Jerry Duggan and Brian Posehn signed by Fabian Nicieza. So I got in line to wait to speak to Fabian Nicieza, and I'm about to be the next person to go up to him. And I'm super naive. I didn't know signatures costed anything at this point. And right before I was about to go up, another writer came up to speak to him. And at the time, I didn't know who it was, but in retrospect, it was Charles Soule that went up to him. And the two of them were just kind of chatting about like their projects for a little bit. And so Fabian Nicieza, once they were done, apologized. He's like, "Oh, sorry about that, talking shop." And I was like, "Oh, don't even worry about it. Like, I find that super interesting. Like, I kind of like to write myself sometimes, this and that, because that is true. I would just write for fun sometimes." And he asked me, he's like, "Oh, well, what have you written?" And I was like, "I mean, nothing like big or anything like that, just sort of small things." And he just cuts me off. He's like, "Listen, if you want to take this serious, like, you need to like study this for school. You need to read like the classics. You need to like you need to work backwards. You need to not just only read comics, you need to read novels and things like that, and learn where we are able to make comics from, because it all comes from the same source more than anything." And he just is going on and on about this stuff with me, and I'm just like and after that, I just stepped away. He gave me his signature for free, and I pulled over with my friend, and he was just like, "Are you okay?" Because I was just really silent. And like, I this is no joke. An actual tear shed from my eye, and I was like, "What the hell am I doing, dude? I need to be making comics." And so from there, I immediately switched my major to creative writing and just took it from there. I was really bad at it at first, though, but
aren't we all? I kind of feel you there.
Yeah.
A lot of lessons to be learned. Dude, that's so touching. That's like, and it kind of got me a little teary. I don't want to even lie. Like, that was such a sweet story. That's awesome, man. It takes especially like these big creators sometimes, that are published with Marvel and DC and whatnot, like, doing this as a living, like nonstop, like having them take the time to like give you advice right off the bat and encourage you and inspire you a little bit more. That's so heartwarming, and it's so inspiring in so many ways. And I think sometimes that's all we need is just to have one person say, you can do it, and like, let me
Yeah.
tell you how, like, here's no secrets, like let's do this together. I love that for you. I love that so much because like that totally changes the course of your life. And it's a
Yeah,
trip.
entirely.
It's because I work with you so often. We talk about comics so often. Like, we talk about your skills and you growing. And since I've known you, you've been trying to grow into like a greater and better artist. You've really found a sense of style at this point. You've kind of you're molding your characters even more so, and I'm seeing more detail come out of everything. And I can tell the hard work you've poured into this, and to find out it's only been in such a short time span is like really mesmerizing as well, because you've done so much work over the last, what, year and a half I've known you, 2 years,
Yeah.
I guess, almost.
Yeah.
What year is it? 24, so 23. Yeah, so yeah, year and a half pretty much that I've known you.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that growth is just shot up, and I see it even with your new book. It's growing with every single page you start outlining. And how do you feel about that, like with your growth? Like, do you have what is your end goal, I guess? Like, what are you pursuing and aspiring to be at that point?
Well, I actually was talking to a couple people about this, where it's just like, for me, I once I got CyberSync in the mail is where it kind of hit me, because um, almost exactly 5 years I started making my first comics. I made my first ever one-page comic in 2019 for a class project, and so it's been almost exactly 5 years since I've been making comics now. And it really made me think a lot about that 5 year plan that a lot of people like to propose, and
Hmm.
whatever the case is. And it's just 5 years ago, that's what I was saying. I wanted to make comics. And now, 5 years later, I have my first book in my hands. And I think that just really pushed me even more to be like, you know what? I'm just going to just keep going. I'm just going to keep making comics, because it's such a satisfying feeling. And for me, the end goal, like, I will say, a dream book of mine to do one day is, I really want to do Deadpool. Deadpool is like easily my favorite character. Like, there's just something about him that really, like, is just the sad clown of the Marvel universe. Just, I love that aspect of him so much, and I really just would love to make a Deadpool book one day for sure. That's like, it's like the top goal for me right there.
I love it. That's super exciting, and it's so great to hear. Like, you have so many aspirations and dreams, and that there's like just continuous growth, and that's what this is. It's just a journey, and we're all on a journey, just trying to figure it out and hit some sort of dream goal. And I feel like we hit the first dream, we got our first book out. Now it's time to chase the rest. And I know you're working very diligently and very hard on that. You're one of the hardest working creators I know out there right now. So, Javi, it's awesome talking to you. It's awesome having you on the spotlight. Do you want to give any shout outs, or where can we find your work right now? Do
Yeah.
you have any events coming up as well?
Well, no big events by the time that this comes out, but basically, I'll be at IC3 next year. That's a big thing. So
Yeah.
I'll be at IC3 in March next year. But you can find me at Javi_Blink on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active for sure. I post a lot of stuff there, about my podcast and my art as well. And there I have my link tree, so you can get all the links for the podcast. Heck yeah, pod. I have you guys linked in my bio as well, Apollo City Comics. And I have my link tree for my website. That's a big thing as well. So, I would love to hear any feedback people got on my website. Should be having merch coming out very soon, like this bad boy here.
Love
And
it.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, Javi, thank you so much for stepping into the spotlight today. I hope to see more of your work. I will be seeing more of your work. I publish it. But I'm so hyped for everyone in the world to see more of your work. And I can't wait to work with you even more over the next couple of years. And we'll be hanging at IC3 together. It's been a minute since we've seen each other, so it's going to be so exciting.
Yeah,
but thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today, man.
thank you, Brandon. Thank you.